Voted People Magazine's Dad of the Year, Devon Still is an NFL veteran whose story has captivated many hearts across the nation. In his new book, Still in the Game, Devon shares his journey of how he was able to keep fighting even while everything was going against him and his family. Everyone, please give a warm Build Brunch welcome to Devon Still.
Nice to meet you. Lucas, nice to meet you.
Hey, Allie, nice to meet you.
Devon, how you doing?
For being here.
What's going on? Welcome to Build Brunch.
Thanks for having me.
What happened to your foot?
I had a little foot surgery to fix up some injuries I had playing football.
All right, you feeling good though?
I am, especially back there watching y'all. Y'all got a lot of energy on this show.
tried.
I told them I'm gonna have to step it up.
All the salad we're eating.
There we go.
We're
There
super
we
fresh.
go.
So your story is something that I think a lot of us heard, and we're so happy that Leah is in recovery. For those of you who don't know, your daughter Leah was diagnosed at 4 with stage 4 neuroblastoma.
Yes.
She's now cancer-free.
Yep.
So how's Leah doing?
Doing good. She's almost 4 years in remission. She's 8 going on 21, you know, because she's growing up really fast. But just being able to see her just enjoy life, enjoy her childhood, it's amazing to see.
Yeah, and the story was so public.
Right.
What was that like at the time? Because you were in the headlines, you're still trying to take care of your daughter while you're trying to, you know, pay for all these medical bills and playing in the NFL. What was that time like?
It was tough because my emotions was unfolded in front of the camera. Right? I wasn't able to do it behind closed doors and really understand what we were going through, my family and the journey. But I think that being vulnerable really is what inspired people, allowed other families who were in the shoes that we were in to really see that it's okay to be weak sometimes, right? You just got to continue to fight and make it through your storms.
And I actually saw a recent interview with you on the Today Show. You said you actually had to learn how to be vulnerable with Leah.
Right. That's probably one of my biggest regrets is that I always tried to remain strong in front of her because she was getting treated in Philadelphia. I was in Cincinnati because I needed the insurance to pay for her treatment. So I was watching her change over the phone, over FaceTime, right? And all I wanted to do was to hug her and let her know it was gonna be okay. But I tried to continue to hold myself together because I didn't want to break down and cry with her on FaceTime. So every time we would get off the phone, I would just start crying. And then when we were writing this book, I found out that every time Leah hung up the phone, she would go into the bathroom inside the hospital and start crying because she was trying to hold it together for me too.
Wow, she's so strong. Leah's strong though, that's why that hashtag went
Exactly.
viral. And so the book, we know your story. Why did you feel like it was important to put it in words?
To be honest, when I started to put together this press tour, I was thinking of, you know, a punchline that I could tell everybody of, you know, why I decided to write this book, why this book was so important. But honestly, for me, it was an assignment that I had, right? I just got injured. I had foot surgery, and I remember just laying on the couch because I was on all these pain medicines. And I woke up one day and Oprah was on TV, and she was interviewing Jack Canfield about his Chicken Soup for the Soul and how these stories really inspired a lot of people. And in that moment, it's just like I heard a voice, not literally, but I heard a voice inside me that said, you know, somebody out there needs to hear my story, needs to hear my testimony. So I got up off the couch, I went to my bedroom, and I started writing down all the things that I've been through in my life. And I put together this book because I want to show people throughout the struggles that I faced in my life that no loss is too great to stop your comeback, because as long as you're alive, you're still in the game.
That's awesome.
And speaking of your story, you did not have an easy childhood and faced a lot of struggles that many of us, and I would never truly understand. Did those struggles you faced as a kid help you in your professional and in your adult life now with Leah?
Definitely. I wouldn't be the man I am today if it wasn't for the struggles I faced early on. I know a lot of us, we go through a lot of things in our life where we often question why. But when my daughter was diagnosed with cancer, I realized why I had to go through all the struggles that I went through, because it was preparing me for that moment that I could teach her how to beat this disease. And I remember one time in particular, we was in a hotel the night before her surgery. She had to go through a 7-hour surgery to remove the tumor from her stomach, and she was terrified, right? And she was laying on the bed, and you know, I walked over to her and I just started pulling up my pants legs, like showing her the scars on my knees and the scars on my ankle to show her I've been through surgery before, right? It's nothing to be scared about, because once you get out of this and you show people these scars, that means you survived whatever tried to break you. And if I didn't go through those 6 different surgeries on my way to the NFL, I wouldn't have been able to connect with my daughter in that moment and make her feel comfortable about her surgery.
Yeah, that's great. And you also have your own organization, the Still Strong Foundation, which helps assist families with children battling cancer. Can you tell us about that? I think it's amazing.
Yeah, so we started the Still Strong Foundation in 2015 to financially assist families who are battling cancer. One of the reasons why we started this foundation is because I remember a specific time we were in a hospital. Leah liked to go to the playroom a lot just to pass time. And when we walked into the room, there was a little girl around 8 years old sitting at the table with an IV pole next to her and chemo dripping into her body. And there was nobody around her. So we decided to sit at the table with her, and immediately she began to open up and tell us that, you know, she spent a lot of time in a hospital by herself because she came from a single parent home and her mom had to leave to go to work. And I just thought that was unacceptable for an 8-year-old to have to fight for her life in a hospital by herself. So we started this foundation where we could pay the household bills of these families and keep them in a hospital fighting with their child so they can hear their child is cancer-free like we did with Leah.
Oh,
Wow.
that is so amazing. That is really so touching and so important. In terms of your sort of personal journey, I know you played football in college at Penn State, and I'm curious how that influenced both your career and personal life that time.
Well, I guess it just taught me discipline, right? It taught me the lessons that are in this playbook, that you don't get out of life what you're not willing to work for, what you're not willing to struggle for. You know, so often we want the end result but not putting in the work. And I feel like when you do that, it's dangerous because once you get that end result and if you didn't struggle for it, if you didn't learn the lessons along the journey, then it's going to be easier to lose. But when you put in that work and nobody hands you anything, once you get what you want out of life, it's going to be easier to keep it because you understand the sacrifices you made to get it.
Yeah, and you endured countless injuries during your career in the NFL. I mean, how did you keep yourself motivated during that time?
Because I talk about this a lot in my book. I have something where I call it accept failure but never accept defeat. You know, a lot of times we get frustrated, especially I heard you talking about New Year's resolutions. I believe like 80% of people fail by the second week of February because they're scared of failure, right? They fail one time, and like, well, maybe I just need to put this resolution to the side because I already messed up. But you're gonna fail when you're trying new things, but you can't allow that to defeat you. I failed 6 different times on my way to the NFL with these injuries, and people thought I wasn't gonna make it to the NFL, but I didn't let those moments defeat me. I continued to push towards my goal. Leah failed her first clinical trial with cancer, and the cancer ended up spreading all over her body, but I taught her the difference between failure and defeat, and we continued to push ourselves, and 2 months later, she became cancer-free. So when people learn, especially millennials, to learn that you're gonna fail a lot, right? Like I plan on failing in 2019 a lot because I plan on trying a lot of things in this new year. Last year, I didn't try as many things that I believe I should have tried because of failure, but this year, I'm gonna make sure I fail a lot.
I love that. I'm gonna fail a lot too.
Yeah.
I've been.
I'm a giant failure.
Yeah.
I know, don't try to fail. Don't try to fail, but just try new things.
That makes me feel good.
What advice could you give, you know, just everyone who's feeling kind of like they're struggling, like they can't get away from those setbacks, that they're in it? Because it's very easy to spiral, you know, if you're not used to having a positive outlook on things like this and owning your scars.
Right. So what a lot of people may be experiencing right now is they started off 2019, they wanted their life to change, they set these New Year's resolutions for their life, but things haven't changed, right? And it's because a new year doesn't bring a new mindset.
Yeah.
No, a new mindset is what changes your life. A new mindset is what changes your year. So when you change the story that you've been telling yourself for so long, you can change your life. For me, that story was when I found out that Leah had a 50% chance of dying when she got this disease. Every decision I made was out of fear. Everything I did was out of fear because I kept telling myself I didn't want my daughter to die. But the moment that I realized that she still had a 50% chance of living, right? The moment I went from saying I don't want my daughter to die to saying I want my daughter to live, that's when our battle changed. So if people change the mindset, the perspective that they have about their life, that's when your year changes.
Yeah. Well, Devon, you are such a motivation to so many people, and we are so happy to hear that Leah is thriving and healthy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.